Yo.
Yo, how's it going? Awesome. We will wait around 30 more seconds for people to get here. How's everyone doing? How are you doing, Jackson?
I'm doing great. How are you both doing, Michael, Tristan?
All right. Okay, let's get started. Thank you guys for coming. And so this week was about sort of the open free assignment. So it'll be fun. And I think this is like an important part of the scientific process. And then next week we are going to do the the run through for the final presentation. And that will be exciting as well. So it'll be kind of like a 1 to 2 minute video, and we can get a demo. We can get some feedback from everyone to see what people like about it, and just the chance for people to get a feedback. Okay, so without further ado, we will go into Cannabis DAO.
Good day, everyone. We are Cannabis DAO. Today, we would like to talk about how to create the list of researchers in the cannabis spaces. Part 1. What did we do? One of the most important challenges is to connect with researchers in the cannabis domain. In this assignment, we have organized ways to connect with researchers. Part 2. How did we do? Sources. To discover and connect with the researchers, we used a variety of sources, including the NIH, Journal of Cannabis Research, PubMed, Google Scholar, academia.edu, and LinkedIn. We searched these platforms using keywords such as cannabis, cannabinoid, CBD, and THC to ensure a comprehensive sweep of potential contacts. How did we do? Extract data. In order to compile the data from these sources, we utilized a tool called Octoparse. This tool allowed us to conduct efficient, no-code web scraping, enabling us to extract valuable data seamlessly. How did we do? LinkedIn. We share a bit about some of the sources. LinkedIn proved to be a goldmine for our search. By simply searching for cannabis researcher, we found over 1,000 accounts with cannabis researcher in their profiles. Despite being a manual process, LinkedIn was the easiest service for accessing researchers due to its high profile completion rates. How did we do? Google Scholar.
Can everyone else hear it? For some reason it's just naturally fast. They speeded it up quite a bit. Can people hear it? Can you guys hear it?
Yeah, it stopped once or twice, but
okay.
I just wanted to see if that was normal, or my internet's been a little tough today, so I wanted to see if that was just a problem with me or the video. Thanks.
Got it.
Google Scholar provided a wealth of information, albeit in a less structured way. A search for cannabis yielded approximately 1 million results. The platform allows for retrieval of information from researchers who have completed their profiles. However, unlike LinkedIn, Google Scholar does not provide a list of researchers. Instead, we had to follow the trail from papers to the researchers' profiles. How did we do? Journal of Cannabis Research. The Journal of Cannabis Research, a professional journal in the cannabis industry, operates similarly to Google Scholar. Although it provides a plethora of articles, it doesn't offer a dedicated list of researchers. Thus, we had to find researchers through individual articles. How did we do? Academia.edu. Academia.edu, a paid service, offers a similar functionality to Google Scholar, including a large number of studies on marijuana. The registered accounts on this platform are also relatively easy to research, adding another useful tool to our arsenal. Finally, findings. From our efforts, we found that while it's straightforward to create a list of potential researchers, especially in English-speaking countries, it's considerably more challenging to find researchers in Japan or non-English-speaking countries. The real challenge lies not in identifying these individuals but in sparking their interest in Cannabis DAO and determining how to effectively engage them. As we move forward, we plan to start small, experimenting with various approaches to meet this challenge head-on. That is all. Thank you, Usamak.
Okay, cool. I mean, I like the idea here a lot. So,
to extract valuable data seamlessly.
I was curious about this tool. What is this?
Extract data. In order to compile the data from these sources, we utilized a tool called Octoparse. This tool allowed us to conduct efficient, no-code web scraping, enabling us to extract valuable data seamlessly.
Okay, so I mean, this is brilliant. I think the one caveat here is like, I think you talked about it, but it's like, okay, so you have all this, you have all these names, but like, now that you have all these names, you still have to, like, you have a lot of names. So now you have two options. You can sort of spam them all with the same message. You can spam them all and try and use GPT to automatically customize some message for them. Or you have to sort of parse through all these things and find them. So I mean, look, I think it's a good idea. I am curious to see like what's your next step here? Like now that you have all these names, like it's like how do you make it actionable? I guess this is like useful if now you have a corpus, and so now you can search for people that are non-English speaking or Japanese, which is probably very helpful. But yeah, what do other people think? I think this is a great sort of project that you guys chose, and you did an excellent job in coming up with a project that isn't necessarily something that would have been like an assignment, and that's very specific to you guys. So big congratulations, big props to you guys for doing a great job there. I think this would also be very helpful for a lot of other people in the group. So determining sort of the overall corpus of information is probably going to be beneficial to other people. Anyone else?
Yeah, I want to second that. I think that's super useful to see this at this scale, and I could see like maybe half the people in the cohort would probably be interested in doing something similar and supporting each other and sharing each other's workflows. So it's definitely something that I think you should consider for the future cohorts.
Yeah, and the good. I think you guys did an excellent job laying out the possible ways to do this too. I mean,
Variety of sources, including the NIH.
Scraping these things and then looking like looking at LinkedIn, academia. The other one question I have is like, it gets to like the call to action. So like, can you get? I don't know if you mentioned it in any of these, but do you have an email or a way of contacting these people? So, or do you just, I guess it's like, look, this is very valuable data, of course. So then look, you identify you have a list of 1,000 people. You then query it for like some things that you're looking for. And then you like just manually look up you just Google them and look for their website or email or Twitter or whatever, and then just reach out to them directly. This is really cool. You guys did an excellent job. This is fantastic. And I think as Tristan said, like this will be helpful for a lot of people to share this. Even if you don't share the code, which I hope you would, but even if you don't, just sharing this concept and workflows is really valuable. Anybody else? Jackson? Joel? Charles? Jim? Okay. Excellent.
Yeah,
Well, go ahead.
I just wanted to concur with Tristan's points on just sharing the workflows, because that also really helps try to figure out ways I can improve what I'm already working on, and usually can also find something that's like tangentially related to what you're working on. And you're like, oh, I can apply that to my own. So I just wanted to concur with Tristan.
Hey,
there.
Joel here with Future Folklore. Just a reminder.
Okay, cool, excellent. Yes, awesome. Very, very good. Yeah, and I think also if you share it, people might be able to improve upon it and share it back. So I think that's really good. Cool. Okay, now next up, good job, you guys. Digital rounds of applause for Cannabis DAO. Next up, we have Future Folklore.
Hey, Joel here with Future Folklore. Just a reminder, we're trying to onboard more and more people to the search for non-human life, and trying to incubate interesting and accessible tech to help with that. So here are some still images of some videos that Jared, who is the research partner on this particular effort, has been sending. We just want to illustrate what one possible application of this tech might look like using current tech and software. This is a software-defined radio setup here on the top left. The bottom shows a close-up of the data as it's streaming in. And the right-hand picture shows a partial view of the pretty wide aerial view that Jared has access to for his own data collection. So hopefully in time for a demo day, we'll have some more footage and interesting photos to share, and also some hopefully raw data to run through our analysis pipeline, sort of as a proof of concept. All right, thanks. Bye.
Excellent. Great work. And this is another really good job in figuring out something that's like hardware, like specific to your project, in the sense that like everyone isn't going to have a hardware component to their project, but this is very applicable to your stuff. So nice work on that. This software defined radio, is that something that you can buy online, or tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, it replaces some of the like mechanical materials typically used in radio receivers, and does like digital processing on the raw signal. So it's not really my wheelhouse, but I just know that the software does more of the heavy lifting that the materials typically would in like traditional radios. And yeah, it's consumer grade. It's easy to get. I'm pretty sure they're pretty cheap. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, we should also talk about putting this in DB All the data that's created here could easily be tokenized as a NFT without too much problems. And
Jared and I had a good chat today after I made the video, and we're going to try to get some raw data, like I mentioned, to just try to run through the analysis. Obviously, we have a couple days until Friday. So I don't expect like aha moments, but it'll be nice to actually get to work with what the data looks like.
Yeah. And so you need it's a radio signal, but you still need a line of sight to the sky.
Well, I mean, if human observation is going to be measured and sort of correlated with the radio data,
Got it. I see.
I guess a more sophisticated system down the road would be some sort of optical sensor that would, just be passively recording that. But for now, we're associating with human observations. Yep.
Got it. I mean, one thing you could do is just point a cell phone. I don't know if there's any hope at picking up any light with a cell phone, but
yeah, I have some footage of that from Jared. Yeah, we have that. Yeah, it's not spectacular, but it's something. It's visible.
That's really cool. Anyone else want to? I mean, you don't have to have both. I guess it's helpful to have both, but presumably, like, if there was enough coverage, some people could plug it in. Some people could do soft. Some people could do visual spectrum. Some people could do radio spectrum.
Yeah, we're excited, down the road for this to be a fun, like community effort. It's not hard to share this data. People know basically about radios, and they're not hard to operate. And yeah, it'll be fun to kind of see the community form around this stuff.
Yeah. Does anyone else have a comment for Joel?
Kind of what we were just talking about. But
Tristan, wait, your mic is quiet.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think it would be helpful to have kind of like all those parts broken out into different entities, and like what's the price for this one and this one, and I think that would be helpful. And then like maybe just like a flow diagram or a sequence of like install this, get the hardware, install the software, and then what do you do? I think could also be illustrative, but yeah, overall cool stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, just to kind of help demystify this, and yeah, totally.
Well, I think they might be trying to get one working sort of before they scale it. Might be one reason they haven't done that. But yeah, I think what Tristan says is like once you figure out one, having like a how-to or making a video setting up how to do it would be really amazing. Jim or Jackson. Jim, which project? Jim, which project are you with? Jim? Did anyone know what Jim? I don't remember. Anyway. Let's see. Okay, what else? So yeah, I mean, I think this is great. And yeah, I mean, do you know the approximate cost of the software-defined radio?
I mean, I'm looking at one receiver now. It's about $35.
Ooh.
There's some open source software, so I don't think that the receiver necessarily has to talk to like proprietary software. But I imagine that they're bundled together. But yeah, it's a good question. I'm not entirely sure what the typical range is, but I think in the $20 to $50 range.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Anyone else have a question for Joel? One more, Julian. Anything else? Do. Okay. Well, really nice. And I think, yeah, as I mentioned before, like I think this is really cool because like this is definitely something that is like specific to your project. And sort of once you have that, now you can start collecting data and having like a pipeline for it. Do you know if anyone else like or do you know like the spectrum of these things, like and how that relates to sort of the bigger telescopes or things in Hawaii with the giant things like that?
Yeah, I know. Radio astronomy does work with certain bands. They're escaping me right now, but I don't quite know off the top of my head how they relate. That's a good question because they're working with like very very distant, obviously like celestial objects or signals. But yeah, I mean the genesis of this particular bandwidth that we're looking at, like 1 to 3 gigahertz or even 1.6 gigahertz, comes from some pretty reliable sources. Like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, NASA's recent conference, the head of the Pentagon like UFO program has like narrowed this down, saying it's definite pattern. So like there's some substance to this. Nobody's quite sure. Nobody's saying why that is. So
Cool.
our bigger picture goal, and this is a little bit off the DSci track, I suppose, is to make a very affordable, fun, like consumer grade radio device that people can use. That's kind of geared toward encouraging them to do their own observations and share data and stuff. So,
Got it. Cool. I think this is excellent. Awesome. Nice work. Okay. Great good digital round of applause for Joel there. And next up we have Tristan with Research Collective.
Hey, this is Tristan with the Research Collective. During my free-form day, I worked on expanding my survey so that way it was more of a catch-all and so that I could share it with different groups and hopefully get something useful from these different groups. And so, for instance, it's more of like, are you a biohacker or a DSci advocate? And if you are, tell me what you're working on or which groups you're interested in. Are you just an academic? In that case, just tell me, what you've been working on and what problems you've been facing. And if you're none of these things, are you interested in participating in trials? And what kind of trials are you interested in participating in? And so hopefully this form will be valuable in a way that's more context independent than previously.
Got it. Okay. Good job, Tristan. Anyone have any comments? So anyone have any comments for Tristan?
I'm curious, how are you thinking about kind of getting the form out there and getting people to like finding folks to fill it out?
After watching the Cannabis DAO video, it's tempting to start scraping everyone who's been working on citizen science and just start messaging them because they probably know a lot of other people. But
Right.
I was honestly assuming more of whenever I'm doing meetups and whenever I'm writing, like include that at the bottom and then try to start circulating them into the right places based on that.
Nice.
Okay, so
That makes
So I think that was my question also, and I think both of those were like really good answers. It's like first is just like a trickle, like put it on your website, put it on your Twitter, put it at the bottom of your email. Just just you have it now, so now you can use it. But I think what Tristan and Jim said is like maybe that could work really well for like the thing that the cannabis DAO people had, is just sort of blasting it out, right? Like now, like put yourself in your shoes. Is like in that you get an email asking you to take a survey. Are you going to take it? The answer for me is no. But I think like if you have 10,000 email addresses and 5 people answer it, like maybe that works. I mean, that's how it works. I guess I would say like I think it's a good enough question that someone should try it and see if it works. And even if you get like 5 or 10 responses, like that's 5 or 10 responses that you probably wouldn't get otherwise. So and I think there are those people might also be able to like email it out to other email lists too. So maybe you don't even try and get them to email it out. Maybe you just try and get them to send it to other people. And then you can get a bit of a multiplier effect. So I think there could be some really interesting synergies there. Again, I don't know. So it's just going to be one of those things that we have to try, that someone has to try.
I'm curious, like, does sampling bias come into play when, like, you send it to tons and tons of people and a very small fraction reply? Just those might be the people who are like, yeah, I really like want to give people a piece of my mind about research incentives or something like that. I know that comes up sometimes when like response rates are low with surveys. It's like, yeah, you just drummed up the interest of people who were already had certain views about XYZ. I wonder about them. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, like the first question is like, do you think science is working as intended from like a 0 to 110 thing? And so it's like it is kind of a barometer. But this is also, I'm not looking for anything quantifiable. I'm just trying to sort resources more than necessarily reach some conclusions based on the data.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm working behind the scenes to actually run some studies that might use this escrow system. It's just like I'm not presenting it during these daily things or weekly things.
Right.
Yeah, and one of the things to add on to the campus style approach as well, and something I think we talked about in one of the earlier sessions, is that you could always make a more of a personalized message for certain people who you think are more more aligned with trying out new funding mechanisms. So incentive mechanisms. So that could be one, and then also looking for publications, which generally are more more amenable or more open to talking about these type of incentive mechanisms. I think that could be another approach to go with it. So you could have like the email blast from Canvas out, but and also have a little bit more of a personalization for people you think are more inclined to hear you out.
Right, and I'm wondering if ChatGPT, if you ask it to write a letter to a researcher and they know what they've been writing, will it be able to personalize it in a way? I'm going to play around with that because I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, that sounds cool. If it works, please send out that prompt. That would be really cool to see.
Excellent. Yeah, so that could be very cool. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, and I think the next thing is like, okay, yeah, let's see what happens when it's deployed. The survey. How is it working with Typeform?
It's the best I've worked with, but I'm definitely not married to it.
Okay, excellent. All right, we will go to the next one here, which is Rakan from HackAge.
Hello, we are HackAge, and the participation in the program allowed me to refine my initial idea and additionally formulate a new one for which I did a brief write-up. I also looked at the literature, and it seems that my hypothesis is more interesting than I had anticipated, because a few works show a connection of methyl-glyoxyl metabolism with mTOR, which has implications for longevity, and it's very, very interesting. So I'm still working on the project deliverables on my final graduation write-up to make it really, really good. And the second question that I need to address is to whether structure my project as a DAO. So in the course of the program, I wrote a 2-page write-up on how I see the DAO. Now I need to turn it into a white paper. If I decide to go with the DAO, I need to set up communication channels such as website and Discord server, etc. And community building is the most difficult for me. So here I believe I need to start with operations core and then see where everything goes, and hopefully fundraise in the future. So everything is in the works. Thank you very much.
So what makes you want to, what's the question between
Right
starting a DAO and not starting a DAO?
Okay, so structuring the project as a DAO has its benefits, both because you attract people, you have community, and so having a sole vision is okay, but I might be wrong. So I need input from other people as well who perhaps are more knowledgeable. So in this regard, having a DAO is so has its benefits. Yeah. However, DAO is a tricky thing, because you don't really know how to start it, and then it has difficulties related to governance and like engaging people, because people actually don't want to do stuff. They want to be just members of a DAO, but when it comes to actually walking the walk, it's very difficult to engage them. Yeah. So having a small team of dedicated people, basically a startup, is another way. Yeah, but running a project as a commercial enterprise is too early, and yeah, so now I need to make a decision and just choose one or another.
Got it. I see. I mean, look, I'm always in favor of calling yourself a DAO, getting more people involved. Like, one of the things that I've learned is, like, you can't do it all yourself. You should do as much as you can yourself, especially in the beginning, but you can't do it all yourself. And when you have a little bit of a bigger team, like, you can have other people do this is gonna sound really basic after I say it, but you can have other people do things and just spend, like, each of you is probably doing like the job of like 3 or 4 people. And when you give people the ability to do that specialize in it, like, you can create a better thing. Have someone really look into the research, have someone doing the data, whatever. And so if you're the way it relates back is, if you're a DAO, you can have a little bit. You don't have to do this all yourself, and you're not going to burn out. You're not going to get tired. You're going to be able to do a better job. So I mean, I'm in favor. I'm in favor of the DAO. What do other people think? Someone counteract me and say that that's wrong.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Different scale of problems require different scales of solution. And yeah, having a large DAO is a full-time job in itself, and trying to figure out the mechanics and the incentives for that is probably not worthwhile. That being said, even if you just have 2 to 4 other collaborators, it could still help out a lot to assign tokens, figure out vesting, and just to have the certainty that what you're all working on, one of the members isn't going to just like take it and run, because this is the common problem in biomedical startups where it's like it's all open source, it's all cool up until the point where there's something of value, and then you wish there was a cap table, but there's not. And so you could just do this tokens amongst your co-founders, and then later figure out, okay, now we're going to open up 30% to collaborators in a more open, more DAO type framework. But you can still get the ball rolling on having tokens that are tied to some legal entity pretty soon.
This is very interesting. Is it okay if I show you my write-up? Well, because I had this very peculiar idea for a DAO.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
You can go ahead and. Are you going to present it or?
Oh, right now? No, I mean like privately.
I see.
Okay. Yeah. DM me, and similarly, feel free to. I'm going to add you to my room, so we can try to recruit some people from there.
Okay.
I think it would be cool at some point among this group, or if you guys know of anybody, to just. I'd love to see like a portfolio of different like DeSci organization options. Because yeah, I mean, Future Folklore, we have a fairly light touch when it comes to like proper like Web3 tooling. Like there's a project token, but it's not an ERC20. It's an NFT, and it's meant to be like for supporters. But I've also given it to people who have supported the project, and the idea of like a full blown DAO governance token and all that, like Tristan mentioned, it's daunting at this point, and I'd love to learn more about like smaller strike teams and smaller teams and how they can do tokenomics in a way that is not just doing it for the sake of being like a DeSci project, but like has actually a meaningful, it adds like a meaningful engine to the team dynamics and all that. So all that to say, I'd love to learn more and explore this too.
Cool. Yeah, I'll write up a little bit for the Telegram channel, and feel free to DM me for more info.
Awesome.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Excellent work there. Oh, do you want to talk at all about your hypothesis or?
A little bit, yeah, sure. So it turns out that methyl glyoxal is an upstream regulator of mTOR complex 2. There are a few papers that describe this phenomenon in relation to longevity in model animals, in C. elegans. And mTOR pathway is a known modulator of longevity because it is a nutrient sensing pathway. And and this connection is actually the connection between mTOR complex 2 and mTOR complex 1 in terms of how it's linked to methyl glyoxal metabolism is only hypothesized, but it's not explored. But judging from the literature, and it looks that the connection is quite promising. And I believe that like looking into this from a scientific standpoint might reap a good harvest.
Very cool. Excellent.
Yeah, and in graduate school I studied the mTOR pathway. That's why I'm quite knowledgeable in this domain. So yeah, that's why it got me hooked up, and I'm very hopeful.
Very cool. Excellent. Okay, anyone else have any advice for Rakan? Cool. Well, make sure to send that thing, your write-up, in the Telegram if you're comfortable, or to Tristan, and we can give you feedback on it. I think that would be interesting.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have Darian with Supplement DAO. And
hi, it's Darren here with Supplement DAO, presenting our VV1 of our platform to gather data and to present it. So first of all, here's what we kind of have in terms of a homepage. People go through and choose a supplement they want to see. Here, I'm going to click on Tankat Ali. In Tankat Ali, we have a description with benefits and side effects. This is all pretty much dummy data, ChatGPT, but we're going to actually include some studies here and some citations for the official platform. And then you scroll down, and then you have user reports. So this will be built out for the 15 starting supplements, and that brings us to our roadmap, which we hope to complete by the next DSI for an official launch. So we're going to have going to add categories and goals as additional views for the front page supplements. Then also on the front page, we're going to add a search so people can more easily look into it. And then we're going to fill in descriptions, benefits, and side effects for the first 10 or 20 supplements or so. And then, yeah, we're going to launch with a Twitter thread and hopefully start gathering some user data. So that's the plan, and excited to hear feedback here. All the best.
Cool. Good work on building stuff during the free, quote unquote, free week. I think that's great. Anyone have any comments for Darren and Jackson?
Two questions. How are you incentivizing the feedback? And then secondly, have you heard of CureDAO? Because I feel like they have built a lot of the similar stuff that might be useful that you can just fork them or something.
Jackson?
Sure. So we're working on the incentivization right now. I've talked with a few methods with Darian, either providing the user data as an NFT or doing some sort of drop for people that are providing their feedback. I think in this initial rollout phase, we'll be trying to just find people who would have provided this feedback naturally for no incentive anyway. And then as scaling up, trying to create a more thought out incentivization kind of platform for how we could provide some true incentives and really get some momentum behind this. But we're still working through some of the, how exactly that would be implemented in a platform like this that we could scale up potentially.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful to be able to, like, the more data you give, the more of a discount you get from your future orders or something. I think it can kind of become this like looping cycle that could be really nice.
Yeah, sure, Tristan. If you have any more ideas on that, I'd love to discuss it with you kind of offline. If you thought out some incentivization routes before this.
Sure, and then yeah, I'll send you a link to CureDAO, and I'd love to introduce you to the founder if it seems like you can potentially use their code base.
Sure, that'd be fantastic. Thanks, Tristan.
Have you actually used CureDAO, Tristan? I don't remember if I used it like a million years ago, but it didn't work.
I've used it a little bit, but it's collecting data. It's looking at all these same sort of questions. Yeah, I think that's another of the big problems DeSci will eventually solve is like, how do we connect all of these pools of data into one thing? But yeah, right now it's still islands.
So I mean, the only reason I mention that is like I would hate for Jackson and Darian to get disincentivized from building it because they think CureDAO has something that it doesn't, and like join the DAO and it puts me to a Google form. So like maybe they haven't actually built it out yet. This is something Jackson and Darian.
No, this is not their main site. There's a whole collection thing. I'll share it in the Telegram group.
Got it. Is this it?
I don't think so. I think there's some other app that's been deployed. I'm not exactly sure on the URL, but I'll find it. Oh yeah, maybe the app. Click on app.
Where's app? Start tracking.
On the top left.
Yeah, I don't know why you're seeing that, Michael. I'm seeing the full app. Hi, everybody. Sorry for being late.
Is it CURE.DAO.org? Is that where you are?
Yeah, curedao.org.
Okay. Huh. This?
But yeah, there we go.
And then what did you do?
The join the DAO button seemed to work. Join us, either one. Discord link.
I don't know.
That was no. That yeah, I clicked the top right. Join us. Join the DAO. Oh yeah, that's interesting. Or I clicked Discord. It's just Discord. Yeah, that's weird. I think that's maybe the membership application form. But you can just go to the Discord from the top. That's just bad UI.
Okay. Anyway, point being is don't get intimidated by someone who has a website. You don't know what they're gonna.
Yeah, I think the problem with CureDAO is that they've just had to incentivize more and more people to start filling it out, and I think that's you can have the software, but if you don't have the economic behavioral engine, then it doesn't matter.
I totally agree.
I mean, I would disagree. I would say look at Stack Overflow and that whole model. I mean, that's just based on reputation. There's no financial incentive there. It's just people getting props from other people, you know, and building up, I guess, their social credit. But that, yeah, I mean, that's just to say it's a different incentive model.
Cool. Agree. Good counterpoint. I think. Did I freeze? I think also. Yeah, I mean, I think both of you have great points. I don't have anything to add. I think it is. What's going on with my computer? We're gonna
and maybe something else I would add to that is there's no I don't look at like additional like potential like maybe competing projects or things as like bad thing. There's always niches and things evolve over time, and we're all finding our, you know, it's a startup world, right? Things change so quickly that you know, and having your own community doesn't necessarily, it's not mutually exclusive with there being another community, you know?
Yeah, agreed. I think everyone here has a good point. Okay, so nice work, Jackson and Darian there. Digital round of applause for all of you. And
Thanks
next
for the
up,
feedback.
yes.
Everyone.
Hello guys, it's Nima from Longlist
Next up, we have Nima from Longlist
team, and as kind of this assignment was free to talk, we are going to talk about how we are actually going to gather all the DeSci projects data, what's the sources, and what's the use case. There are about 20 projects in this program that we are part of, and there are a database of 15 to 20 DeSci projects that we've gathered from the first months of 2023, and we are going to increase that using our researchers research actually in Twitter, and using fundraising rounds, using demo days, and all these incubators and accelerators programs. And at the next level, we are going to use user-generated data based on some merits and based on some metrics to actually verify them. It's going to be a huge database of deep, pure DeSci projects like you and like all the others. We are a database into private market of crypto and Web3, and as you know better than me, DeSci is one of the newest categories in the game. There's a list of data that we are going to need in order to implement our database on DBDAO, and you can simply add your project there. The name of project or organizations, this is an example of one DeSci project. Founded date, website, LinkedIn, Twitter, email, description, location, founders, funding rounds, if they had any, and investors. This is the look of the database right now, but it's going to be much more prettier and much more beautiful. And it's going to be some charts, some data, You can compare all the DeFi projects to each other. You can compare the funding rounds. You can find the investors or incubators or accelerators or some programs that deep DeFi projects gonna be part of, and you can use all this data to improve and develop your project in the best way possible.
Cool. Okay, good work. I think the question is okay, I think you mentioned, I want to dig deeper into, you said you were doing like fundraising, Twitter, workers, stuff like that. And so I wanted to hear more about that sort of stuff, and how you just learn more about how you're thinking about that. I don't think the time zone here is tricky for Nima. Does anyone else have any questions that he can respond to when he is back online? Anybody? Yeah, I mean it's cool. I think
like you,
I'm excited to
like
see the data set. You mentioned you'd collected 20 so far. So just looking at the data, website, LinkedIn, Twitter, email, description, location, founders, funding rounds. I guess that's all here. Investors. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. You're ready to go. You're ready to blast off. So I'm excited to see that. Anyone else? Okay, well, good work, Nima and long list crew. Next up, we have digital round of applause for you guys. Next up, we have Charles from Distributed Governance.
Hi everyone, this is Charles Ajovu with the Distributed Governance Core Framework project. And so for my free day, I pretty much just made some updates on the tweet thread, update a little bit of the graphics, and try to see if I could somewhat improve the title. So still basing off Hishek's tweets from last time. Okay, yeah, and so I just kind of updated the outline by adding a call to action before the out row. So here's the new title. Well, the announcements tweets, and so I tried to add a title, kind of terrible title. So if anyone has any suggestions, let me know. And then from there, pretty much the same thing. Twitter hasn't really changed that much. I just updated the graphic here for the overlay radar charts and normalize some of the scores so the principles made more sense. So it actually turns out that DAOs are the best on DAO to DAO, cultural patterns, brand, and organizational technology, while doing somewhat decently okay on the others. And then, yeah, pretty much the same as last time. Join Alpha. Hope this sparks a conversation. And then here's the new call to action. The project interests you. These are 5 things you can do to help out. And then where you can also access the data. And you'll also let people know they can contact. And yeah, that's pretty much it for what I worked on for the free day.
Awesome. Let's see. So I think my first thing is preliminary findings for research. I would like to see, like, what were they? Maybe if you could choose one catchy thing, that would be really nice. Let's see, what did it say here specifically? Preliminary findings with the DAO index data set.
Title there.
Would you say, Charles, if there is any sort of takeaway that you had from this?
Yeah, I mean, my major takeaway was that most DAOs didn't necessarily perform very well, implementing the features we would expect from the DAO archetype. So that would probably be like the main finding so far.
Got it. Excellent. So does anyone have any suggestions for like A, the title he had there, and B, if there was some sort of like modification that he could do for that title? So to give people boop, 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 here, this guy. One idea is ask ChatGPT, come up with a more catchy title. See what it says. It'll at least give you some ideas, but I've seen some examples where it can write pretty good headlines. Now, sometimes it goes a little bit too hard on the sales side, and it's like, oh, like hot new car, hashtag whatever. You probably don't want to do that, but maybe you can craft a prompt that gives it less of a salesy title, but it'll help to pull out maybe some sort of thought.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely give that a try. Sorry, as I said, I'm really terrible with titles. I can't to really label anything. So that's that would really help me out. And just after the title, just have like that quick description of what the research was. Hopefully that's gonna help someone generate some interest to like actually read through the thread.
Got it. Cool. Anybody else have a suggestion? Or Charles? Well, good work on let me just look at the data you collected here again.
Just update the graphic here for the overlay radar charts and normalize some of the scores so the principles made more.
Oh,
there.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, and that should be a link to another article. Which okay, yeah, they're the graphics.
What is DAO index version? What is DAO index?
It's the
data
analytical tool that I'm using to analyze DAOs. Specifically a self-assessment questionnaire, and so version 8.0 is just that version of it.
Got it. Okay, cool. One thing I'm thinking of is, did you use Code Interpreter to generate these?
No, I just used Plotly Express.
Plotly, okay. I mean, you should tag Plotly. Maybe they'll retweet you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was actually pretty funny. I was gonna tag the DAOs, which in the tweet, but I kind of ran out of time. So I was like, all right, I'll just get to that a little bit later.
Okay. Rakan has a question. What's a DAO archetype? Is there a benchmark to measure DAOs against?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? With this project actually, and so at least the archetype that I've kind of come up with is really trying to see how DAO, regarding their design and then their governance processes, how they pretty much perform on really 9 principles, which I think are pretty much core to the ideal of DAOs and pretty much something you expect from really any DAO, so that can provide some commonality and once again benchmark to compare DAOs. And so I have the 9 mentioned here, but if I can remember them off the top of my head, it's DAO to DAO, cultural patterns, brand, organizational technology, practicing DAO collaboratism, broad stakeholder participation. Let's see what else here. Yeah, I'm really kind of blanking. Information data transparency. I think there might be a little bit 2 more. But so I'm trying to see how all the DAOs perform on those principles with the DAO Index questionnaire, which is really just about 45 yes/no questions, just seeing if a DAO is necessarily putting certain practices in place. And so if it's a yes, you get 100 points. If it's a no, you get 0. If it's partially correct, so like they're trying it, but they're not necessarily like completely doing it, so you get to 50. And then from there, scoring them, and then using that to generate a score, so we can actually benchmark these practices.
Ah, excellent. So that kind of gets in. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So this questionnaire, and who has to fill it? Is it some governance lead or just any member of FIDO?
Actually, anyone can fill it out. This takes a an outside-in approach, so you don't. So it's just really just based on public sources. So anyone can actually fill out the questionnaire, create a score, and share it with anyone else. So it's not it's not something that's actually required to be necessarily internal to a particular DAO. That way, we can actually make it more comparative. Because if it's just internal, it's really hard to compare the internal circumstances of one DAO to another.
Do you think there's an archetype DAO? Like, is there a most stereotypical DAO?
Yeah, I'm not. Well, I can't necessarily say that right now, just as I've only gone through about 10 DAOs. But I will say that I think we do have kind of like a good idea on what features we would kind of expect from a DAO, and then from there, I'm trying to see who's actually trying to meet those features. So, like when I say DAO archetype, it's really like, okay, set these 9 principles. If something's if it's really like a DAO as we think about, it would put all these things into practice, and then from there, comparing everyone to how they're putting those things into practice.
Awesome. Very cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you think it'd be a good idea to also like include like a picture of the questionnaire as well?
I think probably no. I think a lot of times people screenshot a picture of their database thinking people are going to look at that. And I think you want to do it because you want to show that you made the questionnaire. People believe that you did that. I think it's probably not super useful.
Oh, gotcha.
Let's see. I just wanted to check out your call to action here. Okay, good. This is good. Good. Maybe if you. So, how can I get involved with your project?
Yeah, so I listed 5 ways you can get involved. So
submit a new question, review. And where can I take the survey?
Well, you can find the survey on the demo site. So if you go to where the
thing?
So yeah, if you go to that site, you can find the survey there.
I see, but shouldn't I be able to click the link to take the survey?
Well, I mean, it's actually like I should probably include a more direct link to the questionnaire. Yeah, so I include a link to just where the data is, but yeah, you're I might you should definitely include more direct link to the questionnaire itself.
Okay, that would be pretty good. Excellent. I mean, good. This is good. I think. Look, and like, yes, you want to do a good job, but this is also a learning experience. So do it, deploy it, see what people say, see what you think about it. You can always do it again. Don't worry about it. And people know you're experimenting within an experiment, so it's really not the end of the world. Awesome. Anyone else have any questions for Charles? Okay, well, excellent work, and we're excited to see that tweet. Oh, also tag Psi Combinator. I didn't see that. We can retweet you. Or retweet you anyway.
I'll add it.
Yes. But that would be helpful. Are you on, is this not Twitter?
Oh, sorry. This is actually Typefully. It's kind of it's a site where you can actually kind of just like write tweets before you actually put them on. It's I know it's one of the apps you can use to write tweets. So it's really helpful if I'm just trying to ideate on what type of tweets or tweet that I'm trying to put out.
Got it. I mean, I would also say, just because you're in experimental mode, put it on Threads. See what happens. It takes 0 effort. Worst thing no one pays attention to it, but maybe you'll get some. Maybe you'll learn something there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll also give that one a try. I don't have like an Instagram account, so I'll have to go work on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Instagram is more for images, but I think something like this has some sort of more native appeal to Threads.
Gotcha.
Anyone else? Anybody else? Okay. Excellent work. Good job, Charles. And also, if for everyone listening, like, we post the videos online after, so you can go back, get your feedback, and make notes. So you don't have to worry about. You should take notes now, but during it, but also obviously, like, you know where you are in the video, you can just scroll there. And I just double checked to make sure we're recording, and we are. Okay, that's good. Okay, next up we have Julian with Voluntas.
So wanted to use this time to talk about the clinical trial landscape and see what folks think about how DeSci and the projects that we're working on can play into it. So
Charles, did I like your video? I just don't want you to feel sad. Let me just double check that I got you here.
Hi everyone, this is Charles Ojevu with the _firmware project.
Okay.
And so for my free day, I pretty much.
There we go. Okay. Charles.
Hey guys, Julian here with Voluntas. So wanted to use this time to talk about the clinical trial landscape and see what folks think about how DeSci and the projects that we're working on can play into it. So we think of it in 4 phases. The one we're focused on is recruitment. That's actually getting the patient. And then there's a few other phases, right? So you get the patient and then you want to place them in the trial. So you have to validate them, get their registration and consent. Then there's the trial intervention itself, so actually administering the trial and data collection. A lot of this, especially in the trial intervention phase, kind of with COVID, has gone virtual, so we think that's a really interesting opportunity for DeSci. And then the 4th thing is kind of the analysis and follow-up and doing, harmonizing all the data and following up on patients to monitor outcomes. And you can see there's a variety of different actors involved. We think that kind of the economic model that we have is perhaps the best fit for recruitment initially, and the barriers to entry to get into recruitment are lower than the other phases. But I'm kind of curious to hear if folks think there are some of the tools we're working on that could be of use in, the intervention itself, and also kind of analysis and follow-up. I think over time, our plan is to expand kind of downstream. And we think that by building up kind of a network of patients who kind of trust us in a way, that will allow us to kind of have this longitudinal view beyond just recruitment and through not even one study, potentially multiple studies. But curious kind of if other folks have ideas of how DeSci can play a role, not just in recruitment, which I think is at least our focus, but also some of these other areas. I mean, one thing that I've seen recently is a lot of focus on particular kind of I guess like disease vertical DeSci projects that focus more across the full stack. So I think that's one interesting idea.
Okay, so you're looking to see where DeSci can
I'm kind of
fit
curious to hear
into each of these boxes. Is that correct in understanding?
Yeah, because we're focused more on recruitment, and I think that one thing I've observed that's kind of been cool to get to know folks working. I think a lot of the disease-specific DAOs focus more across the entire area. I guess one thing I'm kind of curious about is anyone actually working on like the administration of the trial itself? Because I think most when I think of DeSci, I kind of think of like what we're doing, or maybe like collecting patient data or analyzing it. But I kind of think of like, okay, you probably work with a partner to actually like do the study. But I guess you can like collect the data. I mean, that's what a lot of you are doing. But yeah, I'm curious if there's any like if folks have ideas for some of these other areas and how DeSci might fit in.
All right, let's open
I think
that
that
up.
eventually there's going to be more weight on which group is signing off on this data as being legitimate. Like maybe there's a third party that even is the one signing it as these samples equals this thing. But I don't think DeSci itself is going to change fundamentally how we do science, but I think it's going to link these different columns that you have right there potentially into a more cohesive
collective or cooperative, I think, as you start to have this kind of bifurcation between the academic establishment versus this new group that's still somehow creating solidity and whatnot. And I think this niche that there's patients in those different rare disease DAOs, that's totally underserved. Nobody goes into those DAOs thinking that they're going to be recruiting, but that's totally needed for them to get anything done. So
yeah,
good.
Yeah, I think you're right that, like, I mean, right now, a typical clinical trial, there's like so many different parties involved. I think that'll kind of continue, but it is like very fragmented now. You have all these different, you have CROs, researchers, a pharma company, lots of like service organizations working around the edges. So I think that's a great point.
Awesome. I mean, I think an incentive thing. One thing I think is cool that I don't know if anyone's tried this, but some sort of incentive model that incentivizes maybe a rare disease patient to connect you with another rare disease patient. So trying, that like experiment with the balloon where they tried to basically just like Ponzi scheme it, where like even if you don't find the balloon, but you connect us with someone else that finds the balloon, then you get. I'm going to mute you because we're getting a little feedback. Then you get some money. And I think maybe there's like something here you could use that similar concept in this type of idea. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. I mean, there are like patient community websites and stuff, right? And some of them have pretty active communities, and there's patient communities on Reddit, but there's not really like an economic model associated with it. I mean, maybe there doesn't need to be in some cases, but I think it could be helpful because a lot of people just don't, I mean, it's kind of an empirical question, I guess, of how helpful would an economic model be in connecting those like rare disease patients, but I think it could be.
Well, I think that's one of the interesting things about DeSci is saying like, okay, like, do you get more when you actually pay people for what they do instead of just relying on, like, would you imagine Uber working if you just relied on people wanting to give other people rides? Like, sure, like I want to give people a ride sometimes, but generally, like, if I'm going to be giving people rides, I want to get paid, especially if they're people that I don't necessarily like know. And I think that's kind of the concept with a lot of this like DeSci stuff is like the incentive model of that is on top of it. And I think maybe there's like a whole area. I mean, I think for Charles, one of the things that I would be interested in, because you have so much data around governance, is also like incentives. And if you were able to extract out any sort of like one question would be like, do DAOs that have some incentive model have more members? And not to say that more members is good, but it's a proxy for maybe stuff that they could accomplish or buy-in from people. So yeah, I think an incentive model, and so these other boxes here are primary industry actors. So what are the trial? This is the flow here. Can you see my cursor? This here is like the stages, and then here is like who does it.
Yeah, exactly. So like right now, there's like, in the recruitment space, there's various there's like disease specific registries. There's like companies that actually do some stuff with like patient data aggregation and like selling it to like pharma companies and CROs, and there's like often like the trial sites will do recruitment. And I think Tristan's right. Like it's pretty fragmented. I mean, I think it's not bad that it in some ways like it's complex and there's a lot of specialization, right? But yeah, I think a big thing is like, where is it easiest to kind of find those traditional partners too? So for us, like, I think the trial sites are, I think, potentially good DeSci partners, just because, if you go to like a big pharma company, there's just not that many big pharma companies. So like you don't have that many shots on goal, and they're more, you know, it's a big company. It's kind of hard to get things through. Whereas with researchers, it's kind of more just like it's, you know, a person in a lab, you know, and they have a fair amount of autonomy over their lab, often, you know, associated with like a university or something.
Yeah.
So that's why we've been somewhat more focused on like the trial sites, meaning like the researchers themselves. And I definitely encourage other folks to like focus there too.
On the researchers.
Yeah, I just think if you're looking for like initial partners, you know, I think for a company like ours, that obviously like the dream in a way is like, let's get partnerships with like Pfizer, right? But like, at least initially, it's definitely easier to get those partnerships with like, you know, more kind of just like, you know, researchers themselves who just can move faster than a big company.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have a question or comment for Tristan? So you're saying that the place to start for doing a clinical trial, I just want to dig deeper, is in starting with the researchers.
I think, I mean, it's not, I think if you look at like traditional companies in the space and startups, like some people start with like pharma companies or they get lucky and they get a partnership with, you know, Pharmaco. I think for us, like we've kind of gone, there are researchers that that's who we've been focusing on outreach to. And then we have like one kind of mid-sized pharma company. But I think for most people, unless you have some like big connection at a pharma company, it's just going to be like, as a matter of like sales, easier to kind of get in the door with the researchers. And from like, at least from our perspective, it's like, you know, you can really have a contract with either the researcher or the pharma company in a lot of cases for service providers like us. So it's more just like, okay, who can you get started with easier?
Got it. Interesting. Yeah. I think that like go to market question is interesting. And then also you have someone who actually knows what they're doing too in terms of the science, which is nice.
Right, exactly.
The DAOs that are funding proposals to do research should be the first place to like swoop in there, because it's usually on a forum. You can see what their hair DAO is doing or whatever DAO is doing, and as soon as like you see that there's movement towards it, you can be like, hey, how are you gonna get your participants? And they have crypto. They need someone who will take crypto. And most of these organizations right now on your chart will be like turned off by having to take crypto. So that's a good natural fit too.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we don't actually like, we're not requiring researchers to use crypto. That's like a whole nother discussion that I think is interesting. But like, I think you're right that like kind of the DeSci native approach is definitely like better for that purpose, because like you don't have that barrier of like, wait, your crypto thing isn't it all Ponzi and so on.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can do trials like. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, and then we will move on to Elijah, is the idea that like all your like this gets into what Tristan was like. One of the things with like that's cool with DBDAO is like the dream for that is like, you know, all the data is minted to that wallet. That's that one person.
Yeah.
So like why that's cool is like now, you know, when the patient registers, even if the patient registers with one org, but then the trial or the lead is generated with one org and the trial placement is done with another org, that's both tied to the wallet. That's both on this like open database, like with the flat namespace that's tied to that wallet address. So it's kind of like ties these different things together. And I think that will lead to sort of optimizations and things that you couldn't necessarily do if each of those different things is sitting in a different database, right? So
Right.
I think that's sort of like, I mean, that's when Tristan said that, it sort of sparked that in my brain.
Yeah, I think for us and for anyone gathering like patient data, I think, yeah, the dream is definitely like you kind of have this pool of patients, and then over time it gets big enough that you kind of can like, if it's like, okay, we're doing a study on X, you can kind of be like, okay, yeah, we just like query that, you know, database, and here's the 50 matches, let's like reach out to them or something. So yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree with kind of that approach.
Sweet. Awesome. Okay, excellent work. And Elijah, do you want to give a great work there, Julian? And Elijah, do you want to give us a slight update?
Sure. Let's see if I can share screen. Can I share screen or no? I just kind of run through some stuff.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Cool. Do that real quick. Let's just do that window. Okay, so this couple of days I've been working on just kind of everything along that I did during Psi Combinator. So to remind everyone, my research question was originally, can I improve on predictions for product recommendations and what to create, like supply demand predictions on the consumer side, but using molecular data, incorporating molecular data sources that I've been curating. I ended up developing this experience report, which I also kind of worked on this week, improving the survey itself. So I'll kind of run through some of that. Fun thing, I actually got around to using, before I got into the survey, I got into using Code Interpreter finally. So I was able to take a bunch of the data that I generated, binding affinity predictions and catalytic activity predictions, KCAT, for cannabinoids and CBD receptors, and run that through Code Interpreter. So I just uploaded both the data sets that I generated and was like, analyze this. Happy to share this with anybody that's interested. But yeah, got some interesting like clustering results, separating out the rest of the proteins from CB1 receptors, the cannabinoid receptors, and the THC and CBD synthase enzymes, which are the main ones in that pathway I was looking at. So it's interesting results. Still need to dive a little bit further into it, but Code Interpreter for the win. This would have taken me quite a while to pull up my old R scripts and run through, and it was probably a half hour maybe on Code Interpreter just being like, do this. So that was great. In terms of the survey, I've been trying to expand on my data set. So there's a couple consumer apps that are out there, and there's also Arrowhead. There's tons of experience reports. So I've been scraping a bunch of those experience reports. Some of them have great titles like Meeting Zeus or Memes at School. Just, fun parts of working cannabis. Short report and updating the website. So just the UX on the website is pretty terrible because I'm using the GoDaddy builder. I need to just rebuild the website at some point. It was never intended to be a long-serving thing, but just kind of updating the survey, running API, scraping Arrowhead, and that's my update.
Awesome. Well, excellent. Okay, so you just tweaked everything, sort of. You made little updates to lots of things. So the scraping of the you can't download the Irwin data set. You have to scrape it.
Right.
Got it. And then what's the value in scraping the data set as opposed to collecting your own?
I was hoping you'd ask that. So this is an example of what I can expect to generate. So this is analysis.
The reason I asked it is because someone was asking me about. Oh, anyway, continue.
Yeah. So Arrowhead currently has about like 46,000 reports. So this was done a couple of years ago when there was about 20,000 available. And so I'm going to narrow this down and focus more specifically on cannabis, but a lot of them are combinations of substances. So this is just kind of showing an example of what's on there. Where's the cannabis one? Oh, it was pretty big. Never mind. But yeah, a lot of them aren't cannabis. So I need to filter those out. But kind of just running distributions on demographics, just doing fun like word clouds, and then seeing the relationships between substances. So there was cannabis. It's like one of the essential ones. It's really common. There's a lot of data I can get there, and they're all in this sort of form of experience reports. used the Psychonaut wiki. So these are on the Psychonaut wiki, but the Arrowwood ones, some of them are really detailed and they use the same sort of format. So I'm expecting to get some usable data out of there that then I can, continue to add on to with my survey.
Got it. So you're expanding on the 20,000 to 40,000, and then you want to expand on it with your saver. So expand it with new rows or new columns?
New rows.
New rows. Okay. So you want to take the 40,000 and then add new things to it.
Both, yeah, both new columns as well as new rows. Yeah. So in the survey that I've created, there's a bunch of new fields that I'm collecting. Like things about the strain information, specific information about the products that they consumed, photos, and then this links to that Telegram group as well. So yeah, there's just some. I guess they're not really formatting their data as rows and columns, so I'm going to have to parse the data and put it into rows and columns.
Got it.
And then sort of map it to what I've got here already.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Elijah?
Hey, Elijah, can you remind me, in looking at or in gathering experience reports, are you able to ask people, like, let's say they haven't used any for like weeks, but they like know how to identify what they typically use and like patterns of their typical experience? Like, is there any kind of time lag that you're allowing, or is it like, no, as soon as you use it or within an hour, like, please record your experience?
Great question. I should have uploaded screenshots from the app that I was sort of scoping out, that's doing this, that's using basically like enabling it for like private use. So I'm trying to take the Web3 approach to kind of what they're doing with the survey. But yes, so they can select, they can input the date that they have the experience on, and they have their experience level with cannabis, and then their experience level with all substances. These are scales that I created. So, like, are you a psychonaut? Are you a liberal pursuer of altered states? Are you familiar? Like, these sort of things. These are scales that I created. I did actually have a friend who's a clinical neuropsychologist help me with these and review these. So there is more than just my random thoughts coming into the survey. So it was there's definitely some their suspected tolerance for cannabis, right? And so that's included as well. Set and setting, and then their actual experience report. So there's a lot that goes into that. They describe their report, and then they have various effects that were taken from the Psychonaut Wiki, the subjective effects index. So all their effects that they listed, physical effects, visual effects, auditory effects, and then cognitive effects, which is the big one, and then multisensory effects, which is small. But so these I'm kind of I took all of the effects that were in the Psychonaut Wiki for cannabis in their index, and I think some of the feedback I've gotten so far was I need to simplify some of these descriptions, so that they're easier for people to understand that aren't experts in psychology. So, which I am not. So, but I'm just learning about all these things. So I think, yes, simplifying that, maybe reducing the number of options. Excuse me. Will make this a little bit easier for people to do. So I'm trying to basically remove a lot of these things, and then remove some of the repetitive stuff. Once I have user registration, I can remove things like age, sex, height, weight, right? Those things don't change between the person. So I'm kind of formatting a quick report where it can be used sort of in the moment. So it's like, oh, you can use this as your your companion and track your experience as you're having it, or you can come back later and fill out a more detailed report or use the quick report. And I really want this to be sort of built into a Telegram bot where somebody can just have it open and be like chatting with it, and it could have like it could be even like recommending things to them, entertainment stuff, or while collecting this sort of standardized data through sort of casual chat interactions.
Say that one more time. It could say that about the recommendation.
So for example, if they're having an experience and they're like, oh yeah, like show me something fun. Like it's a chat. It's like show me a fun video.
So this gets to Joel's question: are you doing this before, during, or after?
Right.
And if you're doing it before, you can have more of a like in situ. I mean, yeah. So that would be kind of cool. Is just like chatting with something, and maybe you could it's not as formal, sort of.
Right. So right now I haven't worked on the bot at all since last week, but that's the idea. It's like you could come in here and like activate the bot, and then it'll DM you, and you can have your little session with the bot.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
Cool.
I mean, I think that's pretty interesting to like. I think my question is like, how covert can it get you to fill out what it needs you to fill out while still being enjoyable?
Right. And that's the idea. It's there. It's still.
It's like if it starts asking me like, what's 9 times 4, and you just want to see memes or something, like that's just not going to be in the flow of that.
No, I mean, you could say, well, if I build in like cognitive tests, like there's definitely cognitive tests that I could build in that would be awesome to collect that type of data. That's what I was talking about. With clinical neuropsychologists, because that's the kind of testing they do and learning and things like that, and people's states. But building in those types of assessments, be like, hey, do you want what do you want to do? And basically, it's still their journal, right? I'm not marketing it as this like entertainment thing. It's still this experience journal that's meant to help them improve their experience with cannabis over time, right, and find better products that work better for them. But then, I think having it as this bot that opens up a lot of design space in terms of engagement, things I could do, and making it more interactive and even generating more data too.
Yeah. Very cool. I mean, I thank you for using DBDAO as well. I appreciate it. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, great updates. Your website. It's always good to have a good website. But good work on the survey and the. What were the other things you did? The survey, the scraping, and what else was it?
And then I just ran the other stuff, the molecular data through Code Interpreter.
Oh, and Code Interpreter. Yeah, that was the thing. It was something I knew there was something important, but I forgot it. Yeah, and then Code Interpreter. That's cool that it worked. Did you? My question for that was, did you check that it worked at all, or did you just believe it?
What do you mean check that it worked?
Like in the results that it gave you, did you sort of dig deeper into make sure that like what it was outputting was like correct?
Not really. I mean, I kind of had a sense that what it was outputting was correct.
Okay.
Yeah, what I've looked at before for the few molecules like the CB, the cannabinoid receptors, and THC and CBD synthase. I looked at those separately previously on my own, and this seemed to make sense. But yeah, a lot of the analysis is around the other ones that I haven't really looked at. The other
Got it. Cool. Well, I mean, I think this has been excellent work here. Anyone else have any questions for Elijah?
Yeah, I have one quick question. Elijah, I was just curious on what were you using as a web scraper?
APIFi.com.
Okay, thanks.
Good question. And then the other one is the Cannabis DAO team had something called like Octopusly or something. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but someone can scroll. You can scroll back in the video and check it out.
Yeah.
But it seemed to they had something as well. Excellent. Okay. Anyone else? Well, this was really interesting, actually. I think this is an important step in terms of what, just because what worked really well about this was that each person had something that was like more specific to their project, probably than normal. And I think that was actually really good. So I think maybe next time we do it, it would probably be good to have like one session where there's like something to do, and like an assignment, and one session where it's kind of like just like status update. And I think that would probably lead to more creativity, because I think it's weird to just sort of always be so didactic in science. Like it's just that science just doesn't work that way a lot of times, and maybe it needs a little bit, but maybe we could like go from like 9.5 to 0.5 in terms of like in terms of the balance there. So this was excellent. And so I think in that vein, like next week we're gonna do the the demo video. So, and then you can get some feedback on that. And what I'm thinking is like maybe do that on Tuesday just to give you guys a little bit more time to do this. This was so good. I don't want to like rush this last little bit. Or what do people think about that? Instead of doing the thing on Friday, make it due on Tuesday.
Would that be like sort of our demo dry run?
That would be the demo dry run on Tuesday. So the thinking being that like you could have a little bit more time if you wanted to do stuff.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's do that. I think it was good that we had like such a fast timeline, but now that we're seeing sort of like the things that we can do with a little bit more free time, that seems to be very beneficial. Okay, cool. So on Tuesday we'll have the demo day dry run, and that will be fantastic. And yeah, just really excellent work, everyone. Every team did like a really fantastic job here with sort of the open-endedness of the assignment, which is honestly like the best thing you could ask for is given the freeness that people actually like expand to the volume of the cavity instead of which is great. Yeah, so let's keep on going. Almost there, and keep going in the group chat. Keep pushing things out there. Thank you, Joel, for putting stuff in the group chat, and Elijah and Jim and Charles. Everyone's doing a great job. And but thanks, thank you all. And anyone have any questions?
Do you think the final demo day, the like IRL hybrid, is that still TBD? Like
that will probably be at the top of August. I'm still trying to set the date, but probably aim for that.
Cool.
Anybody else? There's just like ETHCC is going on, and so everyone in crypto is away. So I don't want to do it, and basically the media cycle is kind of got done by that. So like I want to let that die down a little bit, and then we can have more of this.
Yeah, and so I came like a little bit late to the meeting, but is there anything in particular that we're supposed to include in the actual demo video?
I wanted to. I mean, just because this works so well with the open-endedness, I think it's a bit up to you. I mean, I can tell you guys what what to do, and maybe what I can do is I can make an open-ended video. Would you guys like an example? But I think basically it's a 2-minute long video like we've had before, just describing your project to the world. And I think as much as you can have your see what makes it weird is like some people are moving more towards the platform side, some people are moving more towards the science side. So saying like describe your question, hypothesis, methods, data, results, conclusion doesn't quite fit this for everyone. I would urge people to include as much data, as much science as possible in their thing, because I think that is important, because this is Psi Combinator, which is a decentralized science accelerator. But decentralized science can take many forms, obviously. So I'm hesitant to like tell people like what to include. I think I would give some advice is like dumb it down, assume the person knows nothing. So you're gonna get into it. What I'll do is I will write up some slides around it and send them out. But I'd say like just keep it simple for people to understand. Tell people what you're trying to accomplish. Don't use crazy terminology that people won't necessarily know, and give people a link to find out more. But that would be sort of my advice. But there's a lot of room for interpretation there.
I got you. Yeah, thanks. That's helped clear up some things on my end.
Cool. Excellent. Awesome. Well, hour and a half. We're sort of keeping it down, but keep going a little bit over. But we're getting it. It's not too unmanageable. But yes, okay, excellent, guys. Keep going, and see you. We'll keep in the chat, but we'll do the next thing on Tuesday. All right, bye.
All right.